Hi, welcome to another video in the introduction to the Linux command line. In this video, we're going to talk about file and folder navigation in the Linux command line. All right, let's begin talking about the file system and the Linux operating system. So just like Windows, Linux organizes your things into folders and files. So for instance, I have a downloads folder, it's empty. The documents folder has another folder inside, another folder, and then a bunch of files, etc. Now, the thing about the difference, I guess, between the Windows and well, there are a few differences, but one of the main differences between Windows and Linux or any Unix-like operating system is the way that the file system is structured. So in Linux, you have one tree. So you can think about your files as a tree of like items, and then there is a root of that tree. So I can see an address here that says /home/parallels. So I can remove those, and that would be the root of the tree, the /. So that's everything that I have in my disk, in my file system. Now with Windows, you have different trees. So you have like the C drive, which is a tree, the D drive, and the E, etc. So each one would be a different tree. If you insert a new device, such as like a USB stick, that would be a tree on its own. But in Linux and Unix-like operating systems, well, everything lives within one tree, and a device is basically mounted within a folder within that tree. All right, so that is one fundamental difference. File names in the Linux and the Unix-like operating systems are all case sensitive. So you can have a folder that says media with a small m and then a capitalized M, media, and that would work too. And they can be placed next to each other. I don't think you can do that with the operating system, with the Windows operating system. To further understand, I've just Googled Linux file structure tree. Let's look at this example, for instance. So the root of your tree, like we discussed earlier, is this /, which will contain the highest directory within your directory hierarchy. And then you have the bin, the etc, home, opt, tmp, user, and var, and then those are folders or directories. And then within them, you can have subfolders and subfolders or subdirectories and files, of course, etc. So of course, it's pretty nice to have visual representation of the file directory, the tree. However, the command line does not have the ability to give you a visual representation. Now, what you want to know that there is a concept when you're working with a terminal called a working directory. So what do we mean by that? When you are working with the file explorer, what is your working directory? Or what is the directory that you're looking at right now? The directory that you're in? Well, the directory that you're in is /home/parallels. So if you go back here, then what is your working directory? It is a /. Now, how do we apply this working directory concept to the command line? There is a command called pwd, which means print working directory. If you hit enter, it'll print your working directory, which is /home/parallels. And there is another command that says cd, which means change directory. So you can change directory to, and then you can hit tab if you like, and then it'll list a bunch of directories or folders that are accessible for you to change directory to. So if you go back to the files here, you see that I am in /home/parallels, which is the directory that the terminal is pointing to, the working directory. So I see there's desktop, documents, downloads, public, and snap. So desktop, downloads, documents, and public, and where's snap and snap. But then I see other directories that are starting with a dot. So .cache, .config, .java, .local, etc. So it turns out if you want to hide a file or folder, you make it start with a dot. And as far as the file's browser is concerned, that's a hidden file or folder. and it will not display it. In order to see the hidden files and folders within your file browser, depending on the distro and the desktop environment that you're using, you might want to search for that option. But for me, it's right here. If you hit that hamburger icon and you show hidden files and folders, so it's Control H as a shortcut, then you see the full list of files and folders on the system. However, that list looks a little bit bigger. So for instance, a .bash rc does not exist here. Why? So that's a file. And when you say change directory and you hit tab, tab is going to autocomplete with suggestions. You cannot change directory into a file. You can only change directory into a folder or a directory. So the files will not be displayed by definition because they are not directories. So say I want to change directory into downloads. I've just changed directory into downloads, and notice what happened here. The file that I am in now, when I hit pwd, is downloads, is /home/parallel/downloads. So this area here in my terminal is showing me my working directory. So I don't even have to execute pwd. I can just look at the prompt that I'm getting, and it's got my working directory printed within it. Now, this symbol just means your user home. So my username is parallels, and the user home for the user parallels is located in /home/parallels. So instead of making this very long, you can just make it very short by using this. And I can use it actually as an argument for the command cd. So if I want to go back to /home/parallels, I can just use that. If I want to go to the root directory of my entire disk, I can use a /. And then if I do pwd, then I get / as the directory that I'm in. I can use ls to list all the files and folders that are within that root directory. And as we've seen earlier, those are the files located in my root directory. All right, so when you use change directory, there are two types of arguments that you can pass to it. You want to pass a path to a place that you want to change directory to. And there are two types of paths. There is the absolute, and then there is the relative. So the absolute is a path that starts from the root directory, from this symbol, the /. So if I want to change directory to home parallels, I can just do that. I've just passed an entire absolute path that started from the very beginning of the disk, or the very beginning of the tree that we've seen earlier. And then if I print my directory, that's home parallels. I can also see, I know that within that home directory, there is a folder called downloads. So I can just type in downloads, and I don't have to start from the beginning of the tree. I know downloads exists here, so I can just type it in, and it will change directory to downloads. Let me try again, but this time I'm going to type in parallels/downloads. That's going to work too. So the difference between this one is this is relative to the working directory that I'm in, and this, I can be in any directory. So I can be in, let's say, media. And then if I try to change directory to downloads, it's going to say no such file or directory because it doesn't exist in media. I know it exists in my home directory, but I'm not in my home directory. So I can use the absolute path to go straight to downloads that is in my home directory. All right, let's introduce more stuff. So there is dot and there is two dots. What are these? So I want to use ls and I want to pass an argument to it. So you can pass a directory to ls. So I can ls the root directory, and then it will show me, even though I'm not in the root directory, like I'm in my home directory, but I can ls any directory by passing to it a path, right? So I want to ls what's in dot. So if I ls that, it's going to show me what's in my home directory, which is the directory that I'm in. All right, let's change directory to the root directory, and then ils dot. It's showing me what's in the root directory. So dot refers to the working directory that you're in. So if I want to, let's say, go to my home directory, and then I want to change the directory, I can use dot slash, and that will be the working directory that I'm in, slash, and then I can say downloads. And then that will mean the same thing as saying change directory downloads. So this is not necessary, but this would be the complete form for changing directory to a relative directory. But you know, it's not really necessary, so we don't really usually type it, but it might be useful in other cases later on as we progress in the course. But just keep it in mind that dot means current directory. Now, what is double dot? So I'm in downloads. If I ls double dot, it's showing me the directory, the home directory, which happens to be one level up where I'm at right now in downloads. So double dot means whatever directory that is parent to this directory. So if I go back to my home directory and I ls double dot, I see parallels. What if I want to go in the upper, which is in slash home? So what if I want to go to slash home? What do? I say change directory, double dot, and then I'm in slash home. And I want to go one level up, change directory, double dot, and then I'm in the root directory. If I try to do change directory double dot, well, that's only going to take me to the root directory because that is the highest directory within the hierarchy. All right, one more thing before we conclude this video. What if you go in your home directory, right? So I'm just going to hide the hidden files and folders. And I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to see how we can create new folders in the command line in future videos. But for now, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name it Hello World. And notice I have a space in here. All right. And then I'm going to come here. Oh, so if you type in change directory without any arguments to it, it's going to go to your home directory. So it's equivalent to writing this, right? So what if I want to change directory into hello world? So I'll type in hello world. What would happen? It's saying too many arguments. Why? What does that mean? I would like to change directory into this guy. Well, as it turns out, you're not allowed to have spaces in your directory string. So the string that you're passing to any command, it cannot have spaces. But then the file has a space. So what do we do here? Well, you escape the space by a backward slash, and you hit enter, and then you're within the hello world directory. So it's not really preferable when you're working with the command line to have directories that have spaces, because it's just, look, you don't want to be going around adding backslashes into your file paths and directory paths. But it is something possible, and the way to get around it is to have a backslash in the file name. And we've reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope now you are more comfortable with navigating files and directories within the Linux operating system. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps me stay motivated to make more videos. My name is Hazem. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.